Okay, so I did my 9 inches across to go this way for my length, and then the width is going to be 7 inches wide. So I line it up on my cutting board, my cutting mat again. And then I use this to make sure, and I look at both ends to make sure I'm cutting a straight line. If I try to do it by eyesight, it's not going to be straight. And once I get it lined up, I use my cutting tool and I roll it across. And there I have the front of my mask. And I'm doing different colors on each side or different patterns on each side, just so you can tell which was against your face and which was out toward whomever. If you're wearing it at Publix or if you're wearing it in a hospital or clinical setting and you're around patients, you'll be able to know which side was toward your patients or the public and which side was against your face. I just think that is easier. Now this mask that I'm making right now is going to be used with the elastic. I've had a couple of requests for the ties, and I will do that. Oh, my mat did not like that. I will do that later. Right now, I'm working on the elastic and finishing those up. So this is going to be the other side of my mask. So I'm going to measure out my 9-inch length. And then I'm going to cut. Lay that aside, and now I'm going to do my 7-inch width. Make sure everything is lined up and even and ready. I'm going to cut, and I've got my back side or front side, depending on how you want to wear it. All right, so I'm going to lay this aside, and now I'm going to start sewing. So I've got my elastic pre-cut, and I'm using 7-inch elastic to go, and that was what I had read was the suggested length for the elastic. I made some for Bill and his golf buddies, and he actually preferred an 8-inch length of the elastic because it gave him a better fit than the 7-inch. The 7-inch was just too tight for him. So I made theirs with an 8-inch length of elastic. And also, when I do the headbands with buttons, I will probably use an 8-inch length of elastic just so it doesn't, because when I tried with the 7-inch and was just practicing, it was a really tight fit. So now you're going to take your fabric, and this, you've got what they call the right side, which is where the actual pattern is, and then the back of the material. notice you've got your pattern, and then the back. You're going to face right sides together when you start this. So, and if you want to pin, you can pin them together. I only use pins when I really have to. I don't like having to stop and remove them while I'm sewing. So I sew at a slower speed so I can keep my material lined up and I don't have to use the pins. In this situation, there will be a couple of times when you see me using the pins though, but it's just because after making a few, I realized that it was the best way to make them. All right, so once you get the right sides of your material facing one another, you're going to take your elastic, and I know I can't put the camera facing down anymore or it's going to fall off the stand. But I fold back the top one, and I take and I kind of measure in where I just eyeball it there where I want my elastic to be. And this is where I'm going to use my pins. So I take my pin and I pin that elastic in place. And I make sure it's straight. And then I come over to the other side, and it will bunch up a little. And I eye it, and I come in, and I'm going to take my second pin, and I'm going to pin this one in place. And make sure that my elastic and the pin is straight. And then I'll pull the top back down, flip it around, make sure my material is lined up, fold it back, and then I'll take my second piece of elastic for the other side, and I will attach it as well. Making sure to keep them straight. Okay, and that's the hard part. Now comes the fun part. So I've already got my machine threaded. I had to switch out my thread colors from my last mask. I've already done that. So now we're going to start the sewing. So I'm going to come over here, and then I'll switch the camera over to where you can see the machine.